Hello everybody. My name is Haley.
And I'm her lucky husband, Luke.
Today we're just going to do a little married in medical school Q&A. There's a storm that's supposed to be rolling in the next hour or so hopefully it doesn't catch us. We've been married for about a year and a half now. Luke just finished his first year of medical school. We got married about 6 months before Luke started his first year of medical school. As I was thinking and preparing for what it was going to be like for me to be a med student's wife, there weren't a lot of resources out there, and so that's why I wanted to create this video.
Well, and the interesting thing is, too, there's a lot of resources out there as far as when you were searching on Google for being pregnant during med school or something, or starting a family during med school.
Yeah.
And would you say that's accurate that almost all of the blogs and resources that came up were for a female medical student having her baby during med school?
Yeah.
And there's very little out there for the wife of a male medical student and just the family dynamic in that
Yeah,
case.
there are almost no resources out there. We're not pregnant right now. We're not trying right now, but we just wanted to kind of start the series because it might happen in the next couple years, especially since we're just at the beginning of Luke's medical school journey. Yes. Question number 1 is, how long is the medical school year?
I can speak only for the U of M, University of Minnesota, where I'm attending right now. So in general, just breaking down the 4 years of medical school, you've got your first 2 years, which tend to be more focused on classroom work. Now, there's a couple of different mini rotations or baby rotations that med students do. For example, I rotated once a week at the VA, working in a kind of a family medicine, general medicine setting, just once a week, shadowing. By the end of second year, you take step 1 of the USMLE, the United States Medical Licensing Exam. Then after you take step 1, you go into years 3 and 4, which tend to be clinical rotations. So for year 1 for U of M, I started in August of last year. Now the whole point of, at least at the U of year 1, is before we can start learning about diseases and how to treat them, we need to really have a solid foundation on the basic sciences, where stuff is in the body and how stuff works in the body. Because if we don't know how stuff works normally, we don't know what's going on when it goes wrong. So year 2 is going to be block periods, like 5 to 6 week blocks of various organ systems. So then the thought is, by the end of year 2, you're ready to take step 1 of the USMLE. And once you pass step 1, then it's like, all right, you're a decently knowledgeable medical student. Let's get you into clinical rotation so you can see how everything works.
The next one is, what is Luke's schedule? Is it pretty flexible or more strict?
It's been very flexible at the U. I can't speak for every medical school, but at the University of Minnesota, they are very accommodating. They do a lot of streaming online lectures. So there have been a lot of days where, I guess just to walk you through a basic week, and this varies, first semester was probably the most intense thing that I've experienced so far, because we were doing anatomy, which you can't just watch the lectures and learn the anatomy. In order to really get it, you need to dissect and get into the cadaver lab. So that was like 4 hours twice a week in the cadaver lab for anatomy, plus online lectures on your own before you come to lab, so you know what you're dissecting. But the general feel of most of the semesters has been lectures, which a lot of them, I would say probably 75% or more are streamable, meaning you don't have to show up to class. They're optional. The times when they aren't optional is when we get a guest speaker in, or maybe a person coming in to speak about a certain condition, like if they've got Fanconi anemia or maybe some genetic hereditary disorder that they're dealing with. They come in, they tell their story, they talk about what it's like. So when these patients come in, we don't want them to be speaking to 5 people plus another 180 on a computer. So they ask that the students attend those. But other than that, most of the time it's really flexible. I stay home, I watch the lectures. Then there's some classes with labs. So anatomy, you'd come in for the dissection. Neuroscience, you'd come in to see just itty bitty slides with sections of brain so that you can learn what everything looks like when it's cut and stained on a slide. And then microbiome, learning how to plate bacteria, learning where they grow, stuff like that whenever you if you have ever done like a strep test where you get the negative for the rapid strep test, but then they say, we'll call you in 24 hours. That's a blood culture. They grow the bacteria and then they can identify based on the colonies that grow. But I digress. For the most part, it's very flexible. And then starting second semester and summer semester, there was my clerkship at the VA medical center. So that was once a week. So that'd be like 4 or 5 hours once a week, shadowing a physician, interviewing patients, doing some physical exams. So the bottom line of that question is it's been very flexible. That's kind of why we got our little pup subwoofer, because I figured I've got one more year of extreme flexibility. So I'll be home a lot to raise the pup and be around him.
I'm sure most of you guys know, but for those of you who don't, we did get a miniature golden doodle about 2 weeks ago. His name's Subwoofer. He's been very good and very cute and very fluffy. So
Very fluffy.
very fluffy. Looking back about a year ago when we were thinking and anticipating what med school was going to be like as a married couple, I was definitely anticipating seeing you a lot less than I have.
Yeah, but part of that too comes down to personality type and also specialty that I'm going for.
Yeah.
Meaning I don't know what specialty I'm going for yet. But there are a lot of people who know right away that they want to go into dermatology or ophthalmology or anesthesiology or something like that are highly competitive. So the little things like having research on the side, or, you know, at the U of M it's pass fail, but they give you some kind of little bonus, some kind of honors or whatever if you're in like the top 25% of the class. You know, my recommendation, if you're married in med school, you got to make that calculation.
Yeah.
You can sacrifice a lot right now and, you know, sacrifice precious time with your bride and your marriage in order to get into a highly competitive specialty. But for me, I wasn't interested enough at the outset of those specialties for that to be worth it.
The next question is, how hard was it to be married to a med student?
That's you.
How hard is it to be married to a med student? And again, like, our story is different than other people's stories because Luke isn't doing research on the side right now, because it's the first year, because of a lot of different variables with where we're at and where he's at. I just felt a drop.
I did too. We might have to retreat pretty quick here.
Yeah, I thought that every week was going to be midterms or finals, at least the way that those felt. Looking back over the year, there are distinct weeks that were very stressful.
Particularly around like finals or midterms or something like that.
And just those weeks, or like the week leading up to those weeks. I recall weeks over the last year where the business that I work for, Tech Dump, we do electronics recycling in the Twin Cities. There was a week where there were a couple of weeks where our company was moving from 2 smaller buildings into 1 big building. And that was a super stressful week for me, and in a lot of ways that felt like finals week or midterms for Luke. Luke was doing a lot of the cooking and cleaning around the apartment. So I don't think it's a lot different than the average couple, at least for us. At least that's how it was for us.
Yeah, and one important thing too, and this obviously doesn't apply to people who are going for highly competitive specialties, because I can't relate to that and the stress that might come with that. But in a lot of ways, med school, especially if you were a pre-med student, because when you're pre-med, you have to get the grades, you have to get the A's, you have to get the 93, 94 in the class or whatever.
Yeah.
And reaching that narrow margin in a lot of classes, like organic chemistry and stuff like that, at least for me, was really difficult. And in med school, at least if you're at a school that's pass-fail like the U, not all of them are, it definitely hasn't been as stressful or high pressure as undergrad.
The next question is, and I think this is more of a joke, does he practice on you, LOL? Does Luke practice on you?
Oh man. During the first semester when I was learning the broad physical exam, which no doctors do because it takes like 15 to 20 minutes and you're checking everything, you better believe I practiced on her a bunch.
Yeah, checking all the reflexes. The next question is, does med school provide healthcare coverage for you guys?
It does. The nice thing is we don't need it right now because we're both 25. No, you're 24.
Yeah, I'm 24.
We're both 25 and 24 and mooches off our parents. So it's pretty nice to be able to do that, but definitely next May when I turn 26, I'll be getting the U's healthcare coverage. And I think it's like a lot of universities, because I think Bethel, If you go to a college or a med school, they make sure that you waive the health insurance that they provide.
Yeah. And I don't think we mentioned at the beginning, but we both went to Bethel.
Yeah, we both went to Bethel.
Yeah.
And that's where we met.
Oh.
And it's like $1,000-something a semester, so like for half a year. So insurance is pricey no matter what, but it's not too bad, especially when you're borrowing a crap ton from student loans. So that'll be like a bucket in the water of my mountain of debts.
I'd drop in the bucket. Okay, the last question I have on here is, what's the hardest part of juggling school, work, social life, and self-care?
Well, I'll answer this quick because there's definitely a lot more raindrops right now. We'll have to run inside pretty quick. I think the hardest part has been probably during finals and midterms weeks, or the weeks leading up to those, because those times are tough. You're really grinding, really trying to study hard and make sure that you don't get a fail on those tests. And during that time, you have to sacrifice a lot. I can't help out as much around the house as I'd like. I can't see as many people as I'd like. And that gets a little stressful. But other than that, it's been pretty easy to balance. It doesn't feel terribly different than undergrad or terribly more stressful than undergrad, all things considered.
Yeah, so I guess that's all the questions. The rain's getting a little heavier out here. Thanks for watching. If you have any more questions, comment down below. Otherwise, you can like or subscribe. Yeah, we'll catch you guys next time. Bye!